Frank, hey, how's it going, man?
Okay. I don't feel like working out today.
What? You don't feel like working out? What's going on?
Yeah, I kind of feel like I hit the wall, man.
Oh, you know what, Frank? Guess what? What we're going to talk about today?
No, what?
Breaking a plateau. All right, get ready, stand by. Here we go. Hey, Arman here. Welcome to the NSP Nutrition Show, where we cover training, nutrition, supplementation strategies, and a whole lot more. So stand by. Welcome to the NSP Nutrition Show, and I'm Arman Eckelbarger.
And I'm Frank Mills, and we have a jam-packed show today. Today, Armin and I will be talking about breaking a plateau, because I need to hear about that today, and different strategies to get adequate protein. So, again, welcome to the NSP show. And Armin, how's things going today, man?
It's going great, Frank. I'm actually fasting today, so I get a lot done on those days. That's what we're about eating. So that's a good thing there.
Nice. Nice. Okay. So let's get into this breaking a plateau thing. First of all, let's start at the beginning. What is a plateau?
Well, that's when all training results are going to cease and not work out for you. So it's another thing that Vince Girano would call breaking a rut, but I think just about everybody goes through it. So, but yeah, that's when things aren't, you're not getting any results and you don't feel like training.
Well, and this can happen when you're just starting out or somebody who's been actually training a long time, right?
Oh yeah, it's basically inevitable for everybody at some point in time.
Okay. So, Armin, tell us, maybe you can help us out here. Uh, there's got to be some things out there that can help somebody out who's hit that plateau. So, what are they?
Yeah. So one thing I found that can help the most is just getting a lot more sleep. That's what's really important. Because the sleep is critical for recovery. And so one of the things you can do is to start tracking your sleep and making sure you get plenty of it. Because I think if you
Right.
start looking at it and analyzing a little bit more, you may realize that you may not be getting what you think you are. And it's really important because this is when the growth occurs and this helps to speed
Hmm.
up the recovery. And this is when the hormones do their work. And so if you're not getting enough of it, you're not going to help repair those broken down muscles from your training. And it's going to start to affect you in a lot of ways as well. It's going to affect your energy, it's going to affect your mood, and it's not going to be in a positive way.
And you definitely want to be enthusiastic when you go to work out, because if you're not motivated, fired up about working out, it's going to affect your workout. So, what about enthusiasm as you're going to train, or as you're going to weight train, as you're going to work out? Um, let's say that you're feeling burned out. What do you do?
Okay, so that's another good question. And I'm going to say this is everyone's going to go through this from time to time. I don't know of
Hmm.
anybody that had no issues with feeling run down,
Right.
unenthusiastic, and struggling. So that's a
Right.
common thing. And I had the problem myself, especially when I was younger, because I was really enthusiastic, which most people are, and I was overtraining, which is pretty easy to do if you're over enthusiastic and you're doing a lot of it. And so what comes with that is you feel worn out and you're so strung out and worn out that you're just not really motivated to go train, especially after a long day at work or some other
Right.
stress in your life. So what I used to do though, even though I was struggling to get through those workouts, obviously we talk about sleep, so that would help me a lot. But even though I wasn't doing that, I still wanted to train. I wanted to figure out a way. Well, how can I get this workout done? Because when you first get going, you don't want to miss your workouts
Right.
because
Right.
it seems important. So what me and my brothers used to do when we were younger is during the time I started learning how to train, Arnold Schwarzenegger was pretty popular, and we ended up watching Pumping Iron, and we really enjoyed it. So then we went and bought the at that time the videotape. So this is way
Hmm.
back, and then we would just play that. And by the time it was kind of a fairly short movie. We just kind of fast forward to the sections where they were training, and by the time we got to watching that, man, we were so excited and pumped up that we figured out how to have more energy, even though we were hurting. Now,
Hmm.
again, that's just another way of doing it. But another thing you can do to keep your enthusiasm up especially with certain body parts that you may not be so excited about, like leg day and back training can be, a lot more demanding. That would be a good way to kind of get yourself motivated as well. And there's a lot of resources that you can get to do that. But I would recommend those to kind of keep that motivation up. It gives you something to kind of aspire to. So that's why I like to do that, because in your favorite muscle groups, you can typically get fired up enough, like your chest and your arms. That's a pretty easy one for most guys, anyways, to get motivated and go in and hit it. So
Right.
that's another thing to keep in mind.
Yeah. And, the one thing, and not to get off track here, but it would seem to me, you're in really great shape. I'm just starting out. And it would seem to me like once you get in terrific shape, I know you did all this hard work to get there, but do you find that some of the people that you train, once they've like accomplished a lot of their goals, it's easier for them to take time off because they're like, hey, I'm looking how I wanted to, I don't have to work as hard right now at this, or, does that happen?
Well, they're always concerned about, are they doing the right thing?
Right.
And
Right.
that's where it's kind of good to have a coach or some good information to get
Hmm.
some feedback. But yeah, as time goes by, you're going to definitely you need to take some breaks just to let your body recover and
Hmm.
also get that enthusiasm back because now you feel refreshed and ready to go. And
Gotcha.
so
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I was just kind of curious. Now, getting back to the enthusiasm and the motivation, I think if you did the same thing over and over, of course, you're going to get bored with it. So that leads me to the question: do you think you should cycle training?
All right. So that's another good question. And I will say this, typically it's not wise to perform more exercises or more intensity than
Hmm.
necessary to keep the things going, keep them going, and keep them fresh. And a lot of people get into more and more and more, and that's where you start getting into trouble too, because you feel good, but
Right.
that's where you have to keep reading your body. Now, with that being said, when talking about cycle your training, some people take the approach where they're going to go 1 week really heavy, and then maybe they're just going to do low reps with heavy weight. So that might be
Right.
5 to 10 reps, and then another week they would bump it up to a moderate rep scheme of 8 to 12, and then finish up with a higher rep week of like 12 to 20.
Okay.
And then, they feel like that will allow their recovery to be better. Now, I'm really not a big fan of that. So the reason for that is because some days your energy's good. And if you're just going to
Hmm.
be doing a high rep day and you can go heavy, you want to go heavy because you got the energy to do it, and it's more challenging. So nothing is ever in a perfect world, and that's one thing you want to kind of keep in mind. Now you can still do that strategy and try
Hmm.
it out and see how it works for you. Well, I'm just not as big a fan of it because I don't want to make each workout like I good energy. I want to hit it hard to see how much more new fiber I can stimulate and
Hmm.
break down the muscle in the time period I'm looking at. Unfortunately, what I see a lot of people do is basically straight sets the same way in the same
Hmm.
order. And in the beginning, you get good results from that. Don't get me wrong, but as your body starts to adapt, and you're going to find you're going to get less results, less stimulation, uh, and you're not going to see your strength come up. So that can start to make you feel, bored with your workouts, and also, not what you're not get you excited because you're
Right.
not really
Right.
feeling it and you're not seeing it. And that's something you have to really be careful of because that's going to demotivate you. So that's the other thing you want to keep in mind. So, in my opinion, when things are feeling good, that's when I'll go heavy. All right,
Hmm.
in a nutshell. And then other days, I may just change it up just by changing the tempo, the speed of how I'm lifting the weight to challenge me. And then other days, I may say I'm going to do some supersets, one exercise after another without a rest, and then take a rest, and then do the same thing with trisets, which is like 3 exercises back to back,
Hmm.
or even as you get more developed, even go into giant sets.
Right.
And so
Right.
you have shorter rest periods, you get more work done, and it really forces you to stimulate new muscle fiber and to challenge yourself, which is also a fresh experience versus just doing a set and, wait, rest, do
Hmm.
a set, wait, and rest. And you get your workout done quicker. So to me, there's a lot of advantages to doing that and keeping it more fresh.
Well, that brings me to another question, because as I'm thinking about cycling your training, I'm also thinking about how often. I was actually in the gym the other day and I was talking to this guy, and just before I was getting ready to work out, and he was wiping down the machine, and he says that he's there every day and he works out every single day. And
Mm.
hey, if you enjoy it, and that's your hobby or whatever like that, I kind of get that. But, you know, what about volume in your working out? I mean, that could definitely lead to you not wanting to work out if you do it too much, don't you think?
Well, let's put it this way, Frank. In my opinion, if you're getting results and you're doing things the right way,
Hmm.
yes, you got to be careful with the volume, because if you're hitting it really hard, so this guy might not be hitting it real hard. He's just kind of going through the
Right.
motions. He just likes being there. So that can happen with some people. And that, if they're happy with that, and that's fine. But I
Hmm.
don't think you're going to see the kind of results you would like to see if you're doing that, based on my own
Right.
personal experience and working with clients myself. But you need to be careful too much volume, because your body is, if you get it, if you hit it hard,
Hmm.
you do too much. It's like you
Right.
can't sprint a marathon. Okay, it's just not going to happen. You're going to run out of gas, and
Right.
so
Right.
you need to. And the other thing is if you're training, and you get to the point, I don't know, depending on how long you're into the training session, maybe it's 30 minutes or 45 minutes, which is ideal. But if you're getting to the point where,
Hmm.
like, an hour in, which I don't agree with, because I used to do that, you start feeling shaky and jittery. Basically, what's going on there is you've lost all your glucose. And so you don't really have any quality energy to work off of. So now your body's pretty much functioning off of nerves, and that's not going to be beneficial. It can actually cause things to go in the wrong direction. So
Mm.
that's not that you want
Okay.
to be aware of. Now, one of the most effective ways, in my opinion, is to do as much work as possible, like I talked about before, within a 45-minute window. And this was
Okay.
something that Vince Gironda really felt very he thought that was very effective. So, and he tried a lot of stuff. So the target would be 45 minutes or less.
Hmm.
And I just found it's been the sweet spot for myself and my clients. And it's going to be more efficient. The
Right.
more
Right.
time you do, then you got, that start also creates problems too with your scheduling and things like that.
Okay. Okay. Um, you know, as you were talking, I started thinking about the recovery, and you've always talked to me and told me how important that the recovery is after a good workout, so things
Mm.
heal properly so that you can recover and have a great workout next time. But what about taking an extended period of time off? Is that good or is that bad?
Well, that's another one. I've done that a lot of different ways as well.
Hmm.
And to me, there are some benefits to it, because a lot of
Okay.
times it can help your joints get the recovery they need, which is going to be important. Um, because sometimes if you're hitting it hard all the time, you're using really heavy weights, it's going to start to affect those joints. But the other thing is it can help your central nervous system kind of catch up with all the stress that it's under, because
Hmm.
you are putting your body through a good amount of stress. So that's the other thing you can do, is help catch it back up. Now, to
Right.
me, the breaks can range from like 4 to 7 days, where you're just letting everything heal up and letting the body just totally recover.
Hmm.
And I've done it a lot of different ways. And so that's kind of a personal thing, a personal preference. At this point in stage, or this time in my life with the training, I really wouldn't go more than 4 days, just because I'm
Hmm.
itching to get back at it. So
Right.
that's another
Right.
thing to keep in mind. But if you do a 4 or 7 day break, then there are some good benefits to it. I will say this though: once you take a break and you let the body kind of recover, the pump you get on your next workout, or your few workouts coming back, is phenomenal, because the body's reloaded its glycogen. It's the hormones have done all the repair work it needs. Everything's repaired, and it's a really good feeling. Now, one thing I
Hmm.
do want to say is, if you're taking a break of 4 to 7 days, something along those lines, it's not a good idea to start back at the same weight you left off at. I mean, especially if you're training pretty heavy. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because what can end up happening is that can put excess stress on the joints because they're not really necessarily ready, and so well on the muscles. So I would recommend you start back a little lighter and kind of build it back up again, just to protect the joints, and then make sure the muscles are adapting as needed. And the other thing is, if you don't, I think you're going to be more of a candidate to get tendonitis or other joint pain if you try to do too much at once as you come back. So just kind of start a little bit less and just progress your way up.
Okay.
And on that note, some of the things that Vince also talked about in some of his training manuals is he would have you train 3 weeks straight with no breaks, so 7 days a week, and then you take a whole week off. So that's something else you can experiment with. I don't do it that way just because of my workload and things I have to do. And I'm a big fan of I take at least 2 days off a week, just let my body recover. And I found that works really well for me and the training protocol that I'm using.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So let's dive into stress a little bit here. A lot of people, when they're stressed out, they go in the gym, and a lot of times you're going to have a really good workout and it relieves a lot of that stress. But does stress have an impact on your workout, either good or bad?
Absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of people get stressed out based on their lack of results, trying to gain or lose weight in a subconscious way. It bothers them. But your training can help manage the stress and make it more effective. But you got to watch out for excessive stress from work and family and what you're doing, because if you can't get it under control, it's going to cause your cortisol levels to rise, and that's not a good thing. So as another example, for people who train for a long period of time, once your body hits a certain point, the stress is too much, then you're going to find yourself actually having cortisol levels getting elevated from doing too much training. And that's not a positive thing. I mean, the thing with long-term elevated cortisol levels, it has side effects of increasing your blood pressure, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, because this is the amount of stress that your body's going through, osteoporosis, just other chronic diseases, along with just gaining weight. So, cortisol, it can also increase your appetite, and which that can cause the body to shift the metabolism to want to store fat. And that's one thing about cortisol that can be a negative. But if you're training and you're keeping things in the zone it needs to be, like, again, I'll target 45 minutes or less, it's very unlikely your cortisol levels will be elevated. And I've had my lab work done, and my cortisol levels are always in really good shape. So I would say that it works well for me and my clients.
Okay. Well, I know that it's helped my stress level being able to go and actually work out. It relieves so much stress. But a lot of the things too that you talked to me about was mental preparation before you go to workout. And that's been a tremendous help, because if you're not mentally engaged when you walk in the gym, I've even stood and watched somebody else working out. If I didn't feel like up to speed right then, hey, I'm not in a hurry. Let me take a moment. Let me get myself mentally right and really think about what I'm going to do. So that's some great advice you offered me. But regarding the enthusiasm or anything else with this topic, do you have anything else to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to have these periods where things may feel a little stale, or you're not getting results. That's when you want to take a step back, reevaluate everything you're doing. If you do have a mentor or a coach, then let them know about it. But to me, the keys is to change up your training. So don't keep doing the same old stuff.
Right.
Try different combinations of exercises. And just remember, to get the results, you're going to need to place adequate demands on the body and help justify the results. So, and if you can do that, then you need to also have the right nutrition and recovery to make it work for you. And if you are struggling, analyze all those parts. Okay, your training, your nutrition, your mindset, and then are you getting enough sleep? And those are really good things to evaluate, because you can fix those pretty quickly and get yourself right back to where every workout you're like, all right, I'm ready to go. And that's really where you want to be. Don't get me wrong, there are going to be some days where it's like, you just have to get one done. But
Right,
the
right.
less of those you have, the better.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. So we get a lot of questions for the show. And a lot of the things ask about the resources. Where can I find out information? How can I get more info to help me? So, Arman, what are some of those resources?
Well, I like the wild physique because there's just a good diverse amount of information on all these topics in that book.
Hmm.
The blueprint for a bodybuilder is a good one. The Veg Files, it has some different training strategies in there. Muscle has 4 sides, and then the workout bulletin. So what that does is it gives you other training strategies so that you're trying different stuff, you're keeping things stimulated, and you're constantly seeing results. And that's
Hmm.
what's going to help keep you motivated. So I would start with that.
Absolutely. All right. Awesome information. We're going to take a break. And when we come back from break, we're going to get into different strategies to get adequate protein. But before we do, make sure you check out nspnutrition.com. A lot of great supplements on there, and winter's coming. So the hoodies are out at NSP Nutrition. Check them out. I think I'm going to get the blue one. I really like the way that one looks. So I think I'll be checking that out. But you are listening to the NSP Nutrition Show with Arman Eckelbarger and me, Frank Mills, and we will be right back.
Hey, welcome back to the NSP Nutrition Show. I'm Arman Eckelbarger.
And I'm Frank Mills. And as promised, we're going to get right back into it with different strategies to get adequate protein. Now, your body's got to have protein to get the results that you want. And
Absolutely.
a lot of people don't know how much you're supposed to have, or what I learned, there's different kinds and how they absorb. So we're going to get into it. Let's start off with a basic common question, Arman. How much protein should someone consume to build muscle?
All right. So this is a pretty debatable. There's a lot of opinions on this, which that happens in this industry anyways, because everybody's got different approaches. So to me, I'm just going to kind of go over some ratios and then, the kind of protein that I think would be most advisable. Uh,
Okay.
when it comes to the protein intake, um, there's some different estimates that you'll read about. It's like 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of either lean muscle mass or total body weight. And the other one is 1 gram per kilogram. So that's
Okay.
2.2 pounds there. So there's going to be all kinds of them. Okay. But after years of trying all this and reading these things, I've decided I want to keep it even simpler than that.
Simpler than that. Simple, I like. If it's easier, hey. So tell us what you mean by simpler.
So to me, and for what I do with my clients and stuff, I just recommend you focus on eating 30 to 50 grams of highly absorbable protein each meal. And then you can just supplement the rest. So it's easy
Okay.
to manage, easy to understand. So as a quick example is I don't do the 5, 6 meals and all this kind of stuff that some of these other pro bodybuilders do or other athletes do. There's a lot of reasons for that. For one, it's not very sustainable. I mean, you're gonna have a schedule that can allow that, and not a lot of people are gonna have that kind of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not even necessary on top of that. So here's what I
Okay.
like to do, and here's what I recommend for my clients. I typically will have 3 full meals a day. And then with that, if I'm targeting the 30, 50 grams, obviously I want to target the higher number because I have a lot of demands for protein with my training. So I
Okay.
focus on trying to get about 50 grams of protein at each meal.
Mm-hmm.
So with 3 meals, that's going to give me 150 grams, which is going to be great. And that's easy to do. And then what I can do is I'll just supplement the rest as I need to.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
it's easier to do it that way what I found in working with my clients.
All right. So when you say you're going to supplement the rest, how exactly do you do that?
So this is something that I learned from Vince, some of Vince's material. I learned from Vince
Mm-hmm.
personally, but from reading his material, is he's a big fan of keeping the body in a positive nitrogen balance because that's what really keeps protein synthesis going.
Okay.
And to do that, you're going to need amino acids to make that happen. But when you do it that way, you also keep from breaking down additional muscle because you've got the adequate amount of protein that you need. So you're less likely to burn up muscle tissue from not getting enough protein, which can
Gotcha.
happen in certain conditions that cause that.
Mm-hmm.
So to make it more convenient, I like to use some of the resources that Vince actually used as well. Then he came up with some of them, not all of them. But the
Right.
milk and egg protein, that's an
Yeah.
easy fix. The other one would be the beef liver capsules or the amino acids. So, those are something you can take with water if you need to for convenience. The other thing is you take the protein powder, you can mix it with almond milk or heavy cream or something like that if you want a little more fat. But this is an easy way to get some protein in. So my preferred method for a budget, because I think most people are on a budget, is I like the
Right.
beef liver capsules because they're high in protein and they do provide some good benefits of helping to oxygenate the blood, which helps to give you good energy and good stamina when you're training. So for me, and this is just the way I do it, everybody can have their own approach, but
Right.
I typically like to take in between meals, like between breakfast and lunch, I'll have like 10 beef liver capsules, or I'll do something similar with amino acids. The thing is with amino acids, they're essential amino acids, is they're very effective as well. It's just that they're more expensive. So you gotta have
Right.
to budget that. But the amino acids are extremely effective if you go with that route. So then I'll do the
Okay.
same thing between lunch and dinner to finish up. Now you can also do it after you train as well. But I usually have my last meal. I don't really worry about it too much, but that's another way you
Hmm.
could do it to make sure you're getting a little bit more protein in.
Arman, I heard somewhere that, and maybe I read it somewhere. I'm not sure, but I heard that your body can only consume 20 to 30 grams of protein at a time. Is that true?
Actually, well, there's probably going to be debate on this one too.
Okay. Okay.
Seems like there's always debate, but
Right.
that's what you would read. The reality is you, as you absorb protein, your body converts a lot of it to glucose. So as much as 50 or more percent of the protein that you intake will actually convert to glucose. So that's something you need to understand. And that's
Okay.
why you need to keep your protein levels reasonably high because you already know that you're not going to absorb 100% of it. So if you're only going to be converting over half of it, that's one thing you want to keep in mind. So when
Okay.
the process that causes that, it's called the gluconeogenesis, so that the conversion of protein to glucose, it kind of occurs because your hormone glucagon will do that. And this is just to kind of prevent you from having low blood sugar. So it's not a bad thing. It's not a big negative. It's just an
Okay.
understanding that you're not going to get 100% of what you think you're getting. Now, the most important thing is just to have the amino acids in your system as you need them to do the necessary work. So that's what you're trying to accomplish. It's not so much about how many you're having, it's about having them there when you need them is the bigger focus.
And since you brought up amino acids, what about branch chain aminos? Do you have
Well,
some
that's a good
information on
question.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's another good question. It's okay. So the branch chains, and just so you know, those are valine, isoleucine, and leucine.
Okay.
There was some data done by analyzing those. And then they found that if you take those before and after exercising, it was giving you got a lot of benefits from it. So you're getting less muscle damage and also promoting a lot more muscle protein synthesis. That's what they're saw. And then
Hmm.
a lot of that has to do with leucine as one part of it. But just on that note, I started experimenting with that as well. And I was doing about 2 grams, which is 2,000 milligrams of the branched chains before and after training. And then to make it even better is I was adding 5 grams of leucine by itself, which is, just one of the branched chains.
Okay. So why is that, Arman? Just out of curiosity.
Okay, so what leucine is known for, it's again, it's essential amino acid. It helps protein synthesis. So, some of the other amino acids, it's similar to other amino acids, but its carbon skeleton can also be used to generate ATP, which helps for energy.
Okay.
But it can also help regulate cellular processes, such as, again, protein synthesis, like we mentioned, tissue regeneration, and then it helps with the metabolism. So leucine intake accompanied by exercise, what they've seen here, what some of the research is showing, it has a possibility to increase satellite cells,
all right,
which are laying in the muscle. So that can help improve your muscle, expand the muscles, they activate more cells, and then improve the muscle quality, and then basically keep that process, tissue regeneration and things going.
Okay. Interesting. So with the leucine's pretty important then.
I think it is. Now I've done it, probably now going on about 3 years, and I feel like it's made a lot of results for me. So kind of wish I would have known that a lot longer, because if you do some research on it, there are studies that showed that it does do what it does. So that's a good thing. Now there are some other studies that say it can help with growth hormone release, that's always a good thing. And then it can help control your blood sugar. So, if somebody has elevated blood sugar, this is another way you could help to attack that issue. But I mean, I think it works.
Well, the bottom line from all this information in our segment was you better be intaking that protein if you want to get the results and hit those goals that you want. I mean, it makes sense to me. That's what you're trying to convey here today, right?
Yeah. Now we'll finish up with this. We talked about highly absorbable protein. Okay. And so what that means is the most efficient protein sources. That has a high PER ratio, protein efficiency ratio. So with that being said, eggs are number one. Okay, because that's 3.9 or 4-point scale.
Okay.
You got beef. Any type of beef has good quality protein. Then it goes from there to turkey, then chicken, then the fish, and then on down. I just want to say this: plant proteins are not very effective if you want highly absorbable protein. It's a plant structure, so it's not going to be the same as an animal structure. And there'll be some people who won't disagree and say this and say that. That's fine. I've done it both ways, and I'm going to stick with animal protein or milk protein as a combination to make sure I'm taking in highly absorbable protein. You do what you want, but that's what I found works best, and it's worked really well for my clients.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, I'll ask you, Arman, if anybody's out there and they're trying to look for resources or, some more information on the topic that we've been just discussing, what are some good areas where they could go and they could take a look?
Well, when it comes to nutrition, I really like the maximum definition diet if you're trying to get lean, because it's simplified, but it's right to the point. The Wild Physique has all kinds of diets in there, so you can get a good rotation of nutrition, which is good. That helps your gut microbiome, helps your immune system. It gives you variety, and that's always a good thing. Then on top of that, the Pro Series of nutritional bodybuilding is another really very detailed strategy on how to maximize too. So those would be great resources in my opinion.
And if you're looking for any of the supplementation that Arman was discussing in the segment today, NSP Nutrition has top quality beef liver. It's the best, and it's impacted me tremendously. I have felt a tremendous difference. Hormone optimizer, aminos, all also available on NSP Nutrition. And if you're intaking a lot of protein, digestive enzymes is definitely a supplement that you probably recommend in them taking, right, Arman?
Yeah, Vince is really big on that because if you're taking in a decent, a good amount of protein, say 30 or 50 grams, and it's a
Hmm.
heavier protein like beef or pork or something like that, it makes sure you have enough hydrochloric acid and digestive enzymes to help break it down. Protease is one of them that you need to really help break down the protein. So that's all going to be a plus because it'll break it down and it'll absorb and get to where you need it to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Arman, some great information in today's show. Definitely appreciate your expertise and knowledge, man. Second to none. Thanks so much.
Okay. Appreciate it.
All right. Hey, everybody, make sure you check out nspnutrition.com. You can take the 21-day challenge if you want. It's totally
All right.
free. You get to burn fat, build muscle, and get in the base shape of your life. And like I said, totally free. So check it out on the NSP Nutrition page. Arman, any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
No, I think that's probably a good amount for today. Hopefully, people got some takeaways from it. But feel free to comment though on this on the show to let us know other topics you'd like us to cover, other ideas, things that you're unsure about. So to give us some good things to cover that people really want to learn about. So yeah, feel free to do that. Help us out.
Absolutely. Any questions for the show too? Just add them
Yeah.
in the comments section there in the YouTube channel. We've already done a show just on one comment and answered that topic. So we look forward to your questions. We appreciate you listening and watching the show. Arman and I will be back next week with another NSP Nutrition Show.
Hey, thanks for checking out the NSP Show. Go to nspnutrition.com where you can find a whole heap of resources to help you achieve stunning definition and eye-popping levels of muscularity. Don't forget you can save 10% on your first order by using the code NSP Show at the checkout. Catch you next time.